The United States and China agree to suspend new trade tariffs. We will take a deeper look at the trade war and other developments from the just concluded G20 Summit. Hello, I'm Arnold Naidu, and this is The Heat. Leaders from the G20, the group of the 19 biggest economies in the world, plus the European Union, met in Buenos Aires for the annual summit. The ending statement stressed the support for the Paris Agreement and fighting climate change, even though the United States withdrew from that accord. The communique also called for reforming the World Trade Organization. But all eyes were on the meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and US President Donald Trump and the trade war. President Trump agreed to hold off new tariffs, and President Xi pledged to increase Chinese purchases of American products. CGTN's Joel Richards was following the G20 summit and has details from Buenos Aires.
The annual G20 Leaders Summit this year in South America for the first time. Host Argentina hoped to negotiate a broad consensus, but it was caught in the middle of a trade dispute. And ultimately, the most important meetings and agreements took place on the sidelines of the G20. On Saturday night, China and the United States reached a temporary truce in their trade war that has escalated throughout 2018 and which has threatened to derail the global economy.
The relationship is very special, the relationship that I have with President Xi, and I think that is going to be a very primary reason why we'll probably ending up getting something that will be good for China and good for the United States.
Only with cooperation between us can we serve the interest of world peace and prosperity. And that is why I look forward to this meeting between the two sides, where we could have the exchange of ideas on issues of mutual interest and also to especially jointly map out a future for the China-US relationship.
The very possibility of a meeting between President Xi and Trump overshadowed this G20, in which the hosts, Argentina, had hoped to guide the conversation towards a consensus amongst world leaders on the big questions facing the world economy. Argentina viewed its role in this summit as brokering a consensus.
The essence of the G20 is to promote dialogue that respects differences. I hope in this day and a half of work we create the basis for a consensus over the coming 10 years.
Argentina had proposed a series of priorities, from the future of work, infrastructure for development and food security. But wider geopolitical tensions were on the minds of world leaders. The final communique made no mention of protectionism, and while signatories declared the Paris Climate Agreement irreversible, the United States reiterated its decision to withdraw from the accord. For this G20 summit, Buenos Aires was quiet. The government had even suggested its residents leave town during the meetings. Concerns about protests turning violent proved ill-founded, but the local security forces were taking little chances. Breaking the silence in the city were delegations speeding between sideline meetings, from European leaders considering Brexit, to presidents signing a revamped North American free trade deal, to BRICS nations agreeing on reforming the World Trade Organization. This G20 was defined by the trade war between the US and China, and with a momentary truce, Argentina will perhaps be glad to hand over the G20 presidency to Japan. Joel Richards, CGTN, Buenos Aires.